Got it.
Here's a dramatic, long-form rewrite of your script, starting exactly with your requested line and keeping it original while preserving the storytelling punch and emotional intensity. Welcome back to The Life with the Browns. Tonight, we dive into a confrontation that fans have waited 20 seasons to witness. The meeting between Kody Brown and the woman who left him, the woman who rebuilt her life without him, Christine. It all begins with apologies. Not the clear, heartfelt kind, but the kind designed to smooth over guilt and protect an image. Kody comes prepared, rehearsed, measured. He wants to tell Christine he's sorry for the anger, for the fights, for the struggles, but even as he talks, he knows these words are only half the truth. He wants forgiveness, but not at the cost of accountability. Picture it, a quiet restaurant in Nevada, the kind where the tension could be sliced with a butter knife. Across from him sits Christine, the woman Kody once told wasn't enough. Not beautiful enough, not lovable enough, not worth his full attention. But she isn't alone. Sitting beside her is David Woolley, her husband now, the man who showed her what it looks like to truly be loved, respected, and valued. Kody starts his performance, the cameras capturing each carefully curated pause, each vague apology. He tries to rewrite history, to paint himself as a man who always loved Christine, even when his actions screamed otherwise. But David doesn't flinch. He doesn't yell. He doesn't argue. He simply states the truth. "You knew you loved her," David says, calm, unshakable, "because you wouldn't have married her. You wouldn't have had those kids if you didn't." It's 5 seconds that cut through decades of manipulation. 5 seconds that strip away Kody's excuses, his passive voice, his avoidance. The room doesn't need anger. The room needs truth, and David delivers it with precision. In that moment, viewers finally see what they've been waiting for. Kody Brown held accountable, not by fans, not by cameras, but by a man who understands what real love, real respect, and real fatherhood actually look like. This isn't just a meeting. It's a masterclass in confronting narcissism without stooping to it. David Woolley becomes a silent hero, proving that integrity and courage don't need volume. They need presence. Before this meeting, Kody had already tested the waters elsewhere. His earlier stop with Janelle in North Carolina had been unexpectedly smooth. She accepted his vague apologies with warmth that left fans scratching their heads. But Christine? Christine is different. She left first, remarried, and built a life of joy and independence, something Kody never gave her. She labeled their marriage brain damage, and every moment with her now is a reminder of the trust he destroyed. Even Kody admits it in confessional. "I'm walking into an environment where trust has been killed." Notice his choice of words, passive, detached. He doesn't say he killed it, just that it's gone. And while he anticipates tension from Christine, his real anxiety isn't her reaction, it's David's presence. Christine made it clear. She wouldn't meet him alone. No manipulation. No aggression would go unchallenged. For the first time in decades of on-camera interactions, Kody faces a situation where he doesn't hold the power. When she first received Kody's request to meet, her reaction was instant, raw, and telling. This isn't fear.
This isn't hesitation.
This is a woman who knows her worth, who knows the damage done, and who will not let it happen again. What happens next is the kind of emotional reckoning that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about this family. It's messy, it's tense, and it's deeply human. And through it all, the cameras don't capture performance. They capture reality. Christine's strength. David's quiet authority. Kody's confrontation with truth. This is the episode that reminds us, apologies mean nothing without accountability, and love isn't measured by words, but by action. So if you're ready to see what real healing looks like, what real courage looks like, and how one woman finally gets the support she deserves, buckle in. Because tonight, on The Life with the Browns, you're about to witness a confrontation that changes everything. Christine knew exactly what was coming. Years of experience with Kody's manipulations had trained her to recognize the hidden barbs, the casual deceptions wrapped in jokes or smiles. When she first saw Kody's message pop up, she didn't feel relief. She felt anxiety, a flash of frustration, and a deep-seated wariness. Kody framed it as an olive branch, a bridge to healing, but Christine saw through it immediately. This wasn't an offer of peace. It was another play in a game she'd learned to navigate painfully over decades. "I just don't want to. David, I don't want to," she admitted to her husband, David Woolley, the man who now stood firmly in her corner. That phrase, brain damage, comes up again and again in her reflections, a haunting summary of the toll Kody's marriage had taken on her psyche. Not simple sadness, not fleeting disappointment, but years of psychological harm. Being told she wasn't lovable, being gaslit about favoritism toward Robin, shrinking herself to fit into crumbs of affection. And yet, she agreed to meet him. But this time, things were different. David's presence wasn't just symbolic. It was a shield, a silent warning that Kody's usual manipulations would meet resistance. The stage was set for a confrontation Kody could not control. The restaurant was quiet but tense as Kody, Christine, and David sat down. Kody's first words were delivered with a casual, almost joking tone. "Suck those beers down, because I've got some fun stuff to share with you." Christine stiffened immediately. Experienced viewers could almost feel her thoughts in real time. That jokey opener? Classic Kody. A soft setup before the uncomfortable drop, a method to disarm, to manipulate. She had seen it before, predicted it, and wasn't fooled this time. And then he began. The familiar script. "For how we broke up, for how it all went down. I want to apologize for being angry about it. I want to apologize for the struggles." It was the same vague, emotional focus apology he had offered Janelle, a rehearsed attempt to acknowledge feelings while ignoring the real causes. 25 years of neglect, favoritism, and manipulation. "I want to acknowledge the good times. I want you to be able to heal," he continued, fumbling with words, "and healing will probably can maybe. I can't tell you how it's going to happen or what, but if I apologize, you can get into that space where you feel like you're healing." Every phrase was designed to shift responsibility. Kody's apology wasn't about his actions. It was about her emotions. He positioned himself as the key to her healing, as if she'd been trapped, incapable of moving forward, waiting for his permission to feel better. The narcissism was staggering. But Christine had already healed. She was remarried. She was happy. She had built a life filled with joy, love, and respect. Without him, her response was sharp, calm, and perfect. "You just got to let that go. I remember what it was like, but I've got a new husband here now."
It's weird, man.
That's a weird thing to say. I have a husband right here now, you know. Translation: Kody, your apology is too little, too late. You have no claim over me. I've moved on, and your attempts to reinsert yourself into my emotional space are inappropriate. Yet Kody didn't back down. In true form, he insisted, an apology doesn't hurt. What followed next wasn't just another awkward exchange. It was the moment the cameras captured something extraordinary, a woman who had been gaslit, minimized, and manipulated for decades finally standing unshakable, with the support of a man who wouldn't let lies or manipulation go unchecked. Christine had reclaimed her power. And Kody? He had no script left to save him. Christine tried to close the door on Kody's manipulations before they even started. Calmly, she said, "Apologies are nice, but I'm saying it's okay." She was setting a boundary, attempting to end a conversation that made her uncomfortable, a conversation that had nothing to do with her healing and everything to do with Kody's image. But Kody wasn't done. Because the apology wasn't actually for Christine, it was for the cameras.
For his image.
For his carefully curated redemption tour. He needed the audience to see him as thoughtful, remorseful, even heroic. Also, understand this. It's in the past. It's in the past. And it's okay, he said, almost mechanically. But an apology doesn't hurt. Apologies are nice, but I'm saying it's okay. If I wouldn't have messed it up, then you wouldn't have what you have. And there it was, the moment Kody's carefully constructed performance crumbled. He turned his gaze to David Woolley, as if testing the waters, as if trying to charm a man who had already proven he would not be charmed. I mean, later, you might want to punch me. Right now, you probably still really appreciate it. Let's pause. That line speaks volumes about Kody's worldview. He's taking credit for Christine's happiness. He's suggesting that his failures were a gift, that his mistakes somehow led her to the man who truly loves her. This is textbook narcissism, reframing harm as a benefit, turning abuse and neglect into something the victim should somehow feel grateful for. Sure, I hurt you, but see the good that came of it? And the casual joke about David wanting to punch him later? Brilliantly revealing. Kody is indirectly admitting there's a history, details of his behavior, that would make a protective husband furious. He's preemptively disarming anger with humor, pretending that David should feel thankful for the very harm Kody inflicted. Finally, consider the deeper implication. Kody is positioning himself as the hero of Christine's love story with David, as if he orchestrated her happiness by failing just enough to allow it to happen. Never mind that Christine left him. Never mind that she rebuilt her life on her own terms. In Kody's mind, he's still the puppet master, still at the center of the narrative. But David Woolley wasn't fooled. And in that moment, the cameras didn't just capture Kody's words, they captured his unraveling. Because no matter how clever the manipulation, no matter how rehearsed the lines, the truth was sitting right across the table. A woman who had survived, thrived, and found love again. And a man who would not allow lies or twisted narratives to go unchallenged. Kody Brown may have thought he was delivering a clever, self-deprecating moment of charm. But what unfolded instead was the unmasking of decades of manipulation, all under the watchful eyes of the one person he couldn't control and the man she trusted to have her back. Never mind that Kody spent decades making Christine feel unworthy, unlovable, and small. Never mind that it took years of David's love, patience, and support to help Christine rebuild herself after the damage Kody inflicted. In Kody's mind, he still manages to claim credit because somehow his failures paved the way for their happiness. His arrogance is breathtaking. But David Woolley wasn't about to let that slide. He didn't need to yell. He didn't need to list every failure, every neglectful act, every slight or cruel word. He didn't need theatrics. All he had to do was speak one simple, devastating truth, surgical in its precision, impossible to ignore. You know damn well you loved her because you wouldn't have got married. You wouldn't have all these kids if you didn't love her. 5 seconds. 24 words. That was it. And in that instant, Kody's entire carefully constructed narrative, his manipulations, his apologies, his attempts to rewrite history, crumbled to dust. Think about it. For years, Kody told Christine she wasn't lovable. On camera, in moments of cruelty, he told her he never loved her. He framed it as truth spoken in anger, as if pain could excuse the cruelty. And now, Here he was on his so-called apology tour, trying to turn those lies into lessons, trying to convince the world that his words were born of suffering, not malice. But David refused to let him have it both ways. If Kody truly never loved Christine, why did he marry her? Why did he father 6 children with her? Why did he commit 25 years to a spiritual marriage? The answer was glaringly obvious. He did love her. Perhaps not with the consistency, attention, or care she deserved, but love nonetheless. And his claim that he didn't? That wasn't pain talking. That was deliberate cruelty, designed to wound, to undermine, to dominate. David's statement forced Kody to confront the truth he had tried to avoid for decades. He had gaslit Christine, manipulated reality, and twisted the past to suit his ego. For the first time on camera, his deception was stripped bare, and the audience could see exactly what everyone had suspected for years. Kody Brown's apologies were never about Christine. They were about him. Perfect. Here's a dramatic, long-form, YouTube-ready rewrite of this section, keeping it cinematic, tense, and emotionally charged, continuing seamlessly from the previous sections. Welcome back to the life with the Browns. Kody's words hung in the air. Later, you might want to punch me. Right now, you probably still really appreciate it. A joke? A preemptive shield? Perhaps. But it revealed everything about how he saw this moment. As a performance, a way to smooth over decades of manipulation, a chance to reclaim some sense of control. Then David spoke, calm, deliberate, and devastatingly precise. The thing is, when I talk to Christine about you, I see it from a guy's point of view. I really do. I get where you're coming from in a lot of ways. I appreciate the sort of vote of grace. Yeah, David, thank you. Notice what just happened. Kody had spent years telling Christine she wasn't lovable. He framed her hurt as overreaction, her dissatisfaction as failure, her leaving as proof of inadequacy. And then, at the moment she finally breaks free, he tells her he never loved her, validating every fear she had carried for decades. But David dismantled that narrative in a single, undeniable statement. No, that's not true. You loved her. You had to have loved her, because people don't build entire families with people they don't love. So either you loved her and you're lying now, or you never loved her and you're a monster who wasted 25 years of her life. Pick one.
Boom.
The line cut straight to the heart of Kody's gaslighting. He cannot answer without admitting the truth. He either lied for decades or caused irreparable harm through indifference and cruelty. There is no escape. There is no narrative spin. And then David did something even more masterful. He extended empathy while keeping Kody accountable. The thing is, when I talk to Christine about you, I see it from a guy's point of view. I really do. I get where you're coming from in a lot of ways. Notice the brilliance here. David acknowledges Kody's perspective, frames himself as someone who understands the pressures of being a man, a father, a husband navigating impossible family dynamics, but he does so without excusing the wrongdoing. He listens. He validates. He holds space for the truth. Kody's response? A visible sense of relief. I appreciate this sort of vote of grace, he said. But that relief is superficial. David's grace isn't forgiveness. It isn't absolution. It's the measured response of a man secure enough to face someone who caused harm, to witness manipulation without needing to tear the other down, and to ensure the truth is clear. In this moment, the contrast could not be starker. Kody, rehearsed, performing, seeking redemption. Christine, calm, unshakable, empowered. And David, steady, precise, delivering justice without raising his voice. It's a masterclass in accountability, empathy, and the difference between manipulation and integrity. Perfect. Here's a dramatic, cinematic rewrite of this section, keeping it YouTube ready, emotionally intense, and flowing seamlessly from the previous parts. Welcome back to the life with the Browns. David can afford to be gracious because, in the simplest sense, he's already won. Not in a competition, not in some game of egos, but in the undeniable truth that he is giving Christine the love and respect she always deserved and never received from Kody. And that grace makes the contrast all the more devastating. David, who has only known Christine for a few years, demonstrates more care for her emotional well-being than Kody ever managed in 25 years of marriage. David, a father with children from a previous marriage, knows how to show up for a partner without neglecting his family. David, who had no hand in Christine's trauma, is the one helping her heal from it. Meanwhile, Kody and David are having their so-called moment of male bonding, and Christine is quietly observing, processing every word, every nuance, every subtext. Later, she would tell cameras, "I can't imagine what's going through David's head right now. I know that doesn't affect me. That's you." That last line is critical. That's you. Christine is drawing a clear boundary. Kody's regrets, Kody's reflections, his attempts to rewrite or reframe their past, they no longer touch her. His emotions, his guilt, his manipulations, they are his to process. She has moved on so completely that his feelings about their marriage are no longer her responsibility. This marks a seismic shift from the Christine viewers had followed for years on Sister Wives. The old Christine would have absorbed Kody's emotions, downplayed her own pain to make him feel better, tried to soothe his conscience at the expense of her own healing. But this Christine, sitting beside David Woolley, is unrecognizable in her strength.
She has done the therapy.
She has done the healing. She knows that managing Kody's emotional state is not her job. Maybe it never was. Even before the meeting began, Christine almost said no. "I don't trust anything that comes out of his mouth," she told producers. But she agreed under one ironclad condition. David would be there. If Kody started to be mean, if he got aggressive, David would not allow that, and neither would I. Notice the order. David would not allow it, and she wouldn't either. Christine is still sharpening the muscles of self-advocacy that had atrophied over decades of accepting mistreatment. Having David there is more than protection. It's validation. It's the assurance that when Kody tries to gaslight, someone will call it out. Someone will remind her that she deserves better than anything he offers. Someone will make sure her reality is honored, not twisted. For the first time in decades, Christine doesn't just survive the conversation. She dominates it by staying entirely true to herself. And that, more than any apology or manipulation, leaves Kody completely exposed. Perfect. Here's a dramatic, long-form rewrite of this section, keeping it cinematic, emotionally intense, and ready for YouTube narration. Welcome back to the Life with the Browns. The meeting between Kody, Christine, and David revealed something viewers have long suspected but never seen so clearly. Kody's treatment of Christine was never about her being unlovable. It was never about Christine herself. The problem was always Kody, his inability to love consistently, healthily, or fairly, all while maintaining his obsession with Robyn. When David said, "You know damn well you loved her," he forced Kody to confront a truth he had spent decades denying. The issue wasn't Christine's worth. The issue was Kody's choices. He chose to pour his time, attention, and emotional energy into Robyn and her children. He chose to make Christine feel inadequate. He chose to tell her she was only worth love if she fit into a mold he approved of: silent, compliant, demanding nothing, forever bending to his whims. These weren't inevitable outcomes of plural marriage, nor were they reactions to Christine's supposed shortcomings as a wife. They were conscious, repeated choices. And then there was David. His presence at that table was living proof of what Christine had always been: worthy of love. David loves her fully, enthusiastically, publicly, without caveats or conditions. He shows up for her. He protects her. He validates her. He makes her feel cherished in ways Kody never could or would. Every smile Christine shares in David's company, every joyful Instagram post, every interview where she talks about feeling beautiful for the first time is a silent indictment of Kody's decades of emotional neglect and cruelty. Now, Kody is sitting across from the man who has done everything Kody should have done. And Kody's apology?
Hollow.
Misguided. He still believes the problem was his anger after the breakup. He doesn't see the truth. His failure was 25 years of systematic emotional abuse, disguised as concern about Christine's lovability. And yet, here's the remarkable part. After the restaurant confrontation, the cameras captured Kody and David spending a day together racing cars. Clips from the season 20 trailer show the two men at a racing facility, bonding, laughing, competing. Think about that for a second. David Woolley spent a full day with the man who emotionally abused his wife for a quarter of a century, and he did it with grace, ease, and composure. Not because he's forgotten what Kody did. Not because he believes Kody has changed, but because David is secure in himself and in his relationship with Christine. He doesn't need to dominate Kody. He doesn't need to humiliate him or assert superiority through aggression. He can afford generosity because he's confident in the love and life he shares with Christine. This is healthy masculinity in action. It's quiet, measured, unwavering. It doesn't rely on dominance. It doesn't need a camera or a script. It simply shows up, and in doing so, it exposes just how far Kody Brown fell short. David doesn't need to list all of Kody's failures as a husband to prove he's better. He can simply show up, be himself, and let the contrast speak for itself. That day at the racing track wasn't about proving anything. It was about David being completely comfortable in his own skin, spending time with Kody without feeling threatened, without needing to compete. Compare that to Kody's handling of Christine's new relationship. He's complained about not having a right to weigh in on David before Christine married him. He inserts himself into conversations about her life, as if he still has authority there. He's jealous of her happiness, bitterness spilling over, revealing just how little he valued her when he had her. David? None of that insecurity exists. He's not threatened by Kody's history. He's not worried that Christine might still have feelings for her ex.
He's solid. Present.
Confident in himself. Confident in his marriage. And that security allows him to extend grace to Kody. Grace Kody probably doesn't deserve, but desperately needs. The title of this video references a showdown of parenting, and the subtext is clear. David is showing Kody Brown what real fatherhood looks like. David has adult children from his first marriage, understands grief and loss, knows how to be present for children even in difficult circumstances. Now, he's stepped into a stepfather role with Christine's youngest daughter, Truly, who still lives at home. And here's the remarkable part. David knows his place. He's not trying to replace Kody. He's not overstepping. He's simply present, supportive, and caring, the way a healthy step-parent should be. Meanwhile, Kody? He has 6 children with Christine, Aspen, Mary, Peyton, Gwendolyn, Isabel, and Truly. Most of those relationships are strained or distant. He skipped critical moments like Yeeble's spinal surgery to avoid being away from Robin. He's largely absent from Michael T's life, barely knows his grandchildren, and expects them to come to him on his terms. David, on the other hand, shows up consistently, builds relationships with Christine's kids because it's what you do when you love someone.
No demands. No gralles.
Just presence and care. David did something in that Nevada restaurant that no one else has managed in 20 seasons of Sister Wives. He held up a mirror to Kody, calm, measured, impossible to dismiss.
No yelling.
No lists of failures.
No posturing.
Just one simple truth. You know damn well you loved her. And in saying that, he exposed the fundamental dishonesty of Kody's entire narrative. Kody has spent years rewriting history, blaming Christine for being unlovable, framing his cruelty as truth-telling, trying to convince everyone, including maybe himself, that the love was never real so the loss doesn't count. But David sees Christine clearly. He loves her without conditions or caveats. And from that love, he can recognize that Kody must have loved her too. Because people don't spend 25 years together, have 6 children, and build a life with someone they never loved. Either Kody loved Christine, and his cruelty was a choice. Or he never loved her, and in that case, he's a sociopath who wasted decades of her life. And as usual, Kody couldn't admit either truth. This showdown wasn't dramatic in the traditional sense. No raised voices, no threats, no physical confrontation. It was one man, secure in himself and his love, refusing to let another man's lies stand. That is real strength. Not control. Not domination. Not demands for respect. Just quiet confidence, standing firmly in truth. And viewers got what they'd waited 20 seasons to see. Kody Brown being held accountable by someone who can't be manipulated, who can't be gaslit, and who won't play his games. Someone who understands exactly what Kody did to Christine because he helped her heal. Someone who knows that real love doesn't require the person you love to shrink themselves, earn affection, or question their worth. David Woolley showed Kody Brown what he could have been, what he should have been as a husband and father, what he might still become, if he ever did the real work of examining his behavior and taking genuine accountability. But based on everything we've seen, Kody isn't capable of that kind of self-reflection. He'll continue his apology tour, hitting his marks, delivering vague regrets, collecting redemption moments on camera. Then he'll go home to Robin and tell her he tried, and everyone else is at fault for not accepting it. Meanwhile, David will keep showing up for Christine. Keep being present. Keep demonstrating what love looks like when it's unconditional, generous, and consistent. And that presence, that simple, unwavering presence, will continue to be the most devastating confrontation Kody faces. Because it exposes, in living color, everything he could have been, but chose not to be. Did David Woolley handle this perfectly? Drop your thoughts in the comments. For more Sister Wives truth, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.